This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
Welcome, everybody. This is the Monday, March 25th, 2024 meeting of the Easthampton Energy Advisory Committee. Jamie Paquette, the chair, joined by members Josh Rosenblatt, Connie Dawson, John Pepe, as well as conservation agent Cassie Traeger from the city of Easthampton. Get through our agenda today. Unfortunately, as I mentioned, the mayor was hoping to join us today, could not be here, schedule got tied up. So I'm hoping that she will be able to come the next time instead. But a couple of things I'll just mention in passing that she had floated to me in a previous message. So, first thing to do, though, is to review and approve minutes from the previous two meetings since we kicked the January one to this meeting from last time. So does anyone like to make a motion to approve the minutes?
I make a motion to approve both minutes, unless I have to do them separately.
I think we can do them all at once.
Okay.
Motion again, seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you for the corrections. I really appreciate it. I'll try to get them to you early enough in the future so that you can do that.
Well, thank you for,
That was very helpful for me. Thank
minutes
you.
are approved. We just put that on the record. And then also say on the record, Connie, well done getting the minutes out
Yes.
earlier than ever before, I think.
like
So
the bullet format too, kind of more.
Well, I'm trying to just get them almost done at the meeting and,
right.
I was great.
Yeah, it's one of those, like, if I just fold the laundry right after I do it, it's a lot less time unless I let it sit there for 3 days.
Yeah.
Yes.
Some of this here, the people we had talked about before.
Yes, right. Yes, sorry. Distracted by something coming in, just make sure it wasn't an emergency I need to deal with. But we are in the public speak portion of it. So welcome those of you who are here from outside the committee. Appreciate you coming. Does anyone have anything that they would like to bring to the committee?
It's here to learn.
Just here to learn. Okay.
Did someone say something?
Well, I know there's someone from Sunwealth Power here, and I thought maybe you might be interested in talking about what we were emailing about.
Awesome. I can kind of speak now if this is a good time. Sorry if I didn't hear some things earlier when I first joined. My audio wasn't working very well. But my name is Grace. Cassie, it's great to meet you kind of virtually. But I have a short slide deck I can share about low to moderate income community solar, or I can just kind of briefly tell you guys and follow up with the slide deck, whatever works. But I basically just want to share one of our programs that we have offered to communities throughout Massachusetts.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. You're from an organization?
Yes.
Yeah. There's Sunwealth Power.
So I can't.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. And what is your name?
My name is Grace Evans.
Thank you. Okay. Sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry to have interrupted you.
No worries. Getting used to this format. Please, if you are missing anything I'm saying, feel free to cut in at any point. But do you guys have any preference? I can share my screen and kind of run through it in 5 to 10 minutes, or whatever works best.
Yeah, if you want to do a quick, we can allow you to present real quick if everybody's okay with that.
Sure.
Awesome. Yeah, and feel free. Let me just figure out how to share my screen here.
Yeah, the box at in the center to the left of the hand is the shape.
Perfect. Window. There we go. Technology. Very difficult.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect.
Just one second. Rearranging ourselves.
Thank you.
You need a keyboard? Yeah.
Keep changing the room up.
Oh, that's so much better. Thank you.
Grace, go ahead when you're ready.
Awesome. Also, thank you so much for letting me join your meeting and kind of share this information with you. Feel free to hop in at any point with any questions. So I'm coming from Sunwealth, and we're basically a community solar provider based out of Cambridge, Massachusetts. We specialize in low to moderate income community shared solar, which is basically a way for people to reduce their electricity bills through solar energy without ever having to build any panels themselves, which we really work to try to increase access to renewable energy, especially for low to moderate income folks who have really been left out of this energy transition in the past. We've been around for about 10 years, and we've been recognized through the Department of Energy for some of our impactful programming throughout the state of Massachusetts. This is just my manager and I, so I'm kind of in charge of partnership development and outreach. So I spend a lot of time working with different nonprofits and municipalities to kind of run campaigns and share our program resources. I'll start by asking, are people in the room kind of familiar with what community solar is? Just so I kind of have an understanding of where to start.
I would like you to explain exactly what it is.
Okay, perfect.
Subscriber to the community solar program. So
Awesome. So basically, community solar is a way to try and increase access to solar power and its benefits. So my company and other community solar providers will basically build a solar array in the community, but then distribute that power to our list of subscribers. So I'll use our most recent project as an example. We built an agrovoltaics, which is basically kind of farmland and solar in the same plot, in Hadley, Massachusetts, so in Western Mass. And then 50% of all the power generated goes to the farm. They're kind of like the anchor off-taker. And then the other 50% of all the power we generate gets sent to the grid and then distributed to our list of subscribers. So I basically work with kind of trusted leaders and community groups to sign people up for our program. And then that power shows up on their monthly Eversource bill, and they're able to save 20%. It's a fixed savings on all their solar credits, which kind of rounds out to about 17% of their annual electricity bill. So kind of as a short recap, my company builds and owns a solar array in the community. We send that power to the grid, and then Eversource puts those credits, or kind of solar credits, on our subscribers' Eversource bill. I'll kind of move forward and talk about what that means, but are there any questions before I do that?
okay, is the 20%, is that specific to like low income, low and moderate income users, subscribers? Okay.
Yeah, great question. So there's kind of market rate community solar, where it'll range from about 5% to 15%, I believe. But Sunwealth is really impact oriented. We technically are an impact investment firm, and we just invest in solar. We're a public benefit corporation and a B Corp. And so we provide low income community solar. And so there's a couple eligibility requirements I'll get into next.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
Is this something that the people who benefit from this, is this something they sign up for, or they just get it by being in the right place at the right time?
Good question. So right now it's something they sign up for. I know that there's some states that are working on kind of having that auto enrollment. But unlike, municipal aggregation or community choice aggregation, this is something that we would sign people up for and have a contract that they would sign. And it's a free cancellation contract, so there's no long-term contracts.
Great, thank you.
Awesome. And I'll send this slide deck to everybody if they're interested.
Oh, that would be great.
Well. Yeah. Okay, so I'll share just some more kind of specific program information for Sunwealth. So we are offering a 20% discount compared to that kind of market rate, which might look a little bit lower. So for every $1 that we reduce somebody's electricity bill, we're only charging them 80 cents. So that's where they see their savings. We have no enrollment fees, no cancellation fees, no credit checks, and no long-term contracts, because we really, we understand that we're trying to increase access to this, and we don't want there to be, barriers right when you first try to join. It's also stackable with Eversource discount rate, community choice aggregation, fuel assistant, heat pumps, solar panels, all those things. So as long as Eversource is your supplier, you can participate in the program if you qualify. We're also really excited about kind of working with Easthampton specifically. So Sunwealth was actually the financer for the River Valley Co-op solar panels. And so this is an example of a low-income community solar project. And so we work closely with, there are partners, River Valley Co-op and Lynn at Co-op Power. And so we definitely are really interested in working with your community specifically and have done so in the past.
So I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Does River Valley get as many participants as they could have, as they had openings for? I'm just curious how that has been working out.
Yeah, great question. So I joined Sunwealth about 4 months ago, and so I have less kind of historic knowledge for this relationship specifically, but I know that we are working to send out kind of updated information to subscribers this week. And so I can send you follow-up information with this relationship specifically. Yeah. So I mentioned that this is a low-income qualified program, and so there's 2 ways that people can sign up for Sunwealth's higher discount. The first way is if they're on the reduced or the discount fuel rate through Eversource. So this would look like an R2 or an R4 on their utility bill. So if somebody participates in things like subsidized housing, LIHEAP, SNAP, school lunches, they can apply to get a 42% reduction on their bill. And we help people sign up for that when we do outreach at housing authorities and things like that. So that's the first thing we look for. And then the second is if they live in an environmental justice census tract. So I've pulled up Easthampton. And so if anybody resides in these lime green zones, they automatically qualify for our program. Based off the data I have, this looked like about 1,800 homes in 2020. So I'll stop here if there's any questions on these kind of specific requirements and try to answer them here.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Done.
So the important thing to note in a community solar program is when you do enroll, you're going from your monthly Eversource bill once a month to nothing. So your monthly Eversource bill won't be disrupted and your rate won't be adjusted at all through this program. Your Eversource bill will basically be greatly reduced each month by a solar credit from this panel. And then the first of the next month, you'll receive a Sunwealth invoice for that credit at a 20% discount. So people will always receive their credits before they're charged, and their discount will never change throughout their participation in the program. We do enroll people in auto pay just for kind of ease of programming. And we do have, we do work with people with payment plans if they need to kind of adjust their timeline for billing and things like that. Here's some bill breakdowns. I'll definitely follow up with some more resources about this. But basically, if somebody will still receive their Eversource bill the same as they do now, this example has somebody's bill being at $200 for, let's say, the month of January. A solar credit or a net metering credit will basically reduce that bill by about 85%. So that will take their Eversource bill from $200 to $30. The reason it's 85% and not say, 100% is because we want to build in a little bit of buffer, just in case somebody, changes to heat saving light bulbs or changes their insulation or is gone for a month on vacation, just so they're not receiving more credits than they would use. And so this is the first step. They would receive their Eversource bill, which is greatly reduced by a net metering credit. And in this case, the net metering credit is $170. And then on the first of the next month, they'll receive the invoice for that credit. And you can see that it's $170 worth of solar credits, but we only charge them $136. This amounts to $34 in savings through a really passive kind of process through participating in this program. This is the point where it gets a little complicated, so I'd love to answer any questions. I can also hold off till the end.
So they get two bills.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, you pay
The two bills added up are going to be less than kind of existing costs now for a 17%, about 17% reduction in their annual spend. So if somebody spent $1,000 on electricity last year, by signing up in this program, they can save about $170. But there is a transition from one bill to two bills. Okay.
I'm just curious,
Yes.
because this sounds confusing for the typical customer. Does the Eversource bill also show what they will be charged by the next month? Like, does it give them that information as well? You know what I mean? Does it say what they're going to owe to your company?
Yeah, great question. So it doesn't say, you will owe Sunwealth this much money, but you can see how much the net metering credit is. It'll always appear as, net metering credit and then a negative charge. And then your Sunwealth bill will be 80% of that charge.
Okay, gotcha.
That's like that fixed savings.
So you can figure it out.
Yeah.
That's what I was curious about. Yeah, okay.
We also have a portal that subscribers can log into where they can see all of their invoices in one place. And we have great customer service as well, so people are always welcome to call with questions.
Hello.
Motion sensor.
So say to that kind of too, it's a little bit like if you went to another energy supplier and signed up with a separate energy supplier, that part of your, I think then you would pay a bill to the supplier as well as to Eversource for the delivery. Right. So that would get so it's basically, it's not exactly the same, but it's kind of like choosing community solar as your electrical supplier.
Right. No, I was just really wondering, like from a customer's point of view, whether the bill that comes after that they have a way of sort of figuring out what it's going to be.
Right.
That's just what I was curious about.
Yeah. It's a great question, and we definitely try to focus on program education. So when someone signs up, we'll send a multiple page packet with all this information, and we'll kind of send reminder emails as the project moves forward. But this definitely is the area where there's the most opportunity for confusion, but we really work with people to explain it however works best.
Great. Okay.
I won't read these, but this is just, we have some testimonials from some of our subscribers and some of our partners, which I'll send them as a follow-up. And then before I want to respect your time, I just want to kind of end this brief chat about, why I want to share this information with you today. So because we work with low to moderate income, Massachusetts residents, we want to be really intentional about the way we share program information, especially because it's electricity bills and third-party suppliers, which we're not, can be quite confusing. So we work with a lot of municipal partners, affordable housing providers and authorities, and nonprofit groups to basically kind of partner and then share our program resources. So most recently, we did kind of an outreach campaign with the town of Beckett for our Hadley, Massachusetts program, and we're currently doing a lot of outreach with the city of Cambridge. So there's two ways that we like to work with organizations. The first is if an organization actually pays the utility bills for residents, kind of like in a shelter or a housing provider situation, and they reside in that kind of lime green zone, an environmental justice zone, we're able to sign up their properties to save money. And so with our partner Heading Home, which is a Boston-based housing provider, we were able to save them over $6,000 in 2023 alone. So that's kind of one way where you avoid that, working directly with the subscribers, but actually saving a shelter resources and money that they can then put somewhere else. Just through some brief kind of internet searching, I saw that there's kind of the Easthampton Housing Authority, there's Wayfinders, SMOC, Friends of the Homeless, and groups like that, which we could potentially kind of partner with and save them money on their energy burden. And then the other way we work with our partners is through kind of direct campaigns. And so this might look like in-person resource tabling. This might look like a co-branded mailer campaign, online webinars, in-person webinars. We like to really be flexible with whichever organization we're working with. And so that could be another area where your committee could kind of support the sharing of these resources. So we've done a lot of different things. Next month, I'm going to Sunderland, Massachusetts to go to a cooler communities fair. We also are doing a mailer campaign with the city of Cambridge right now. So we can be quite flexible for whatever you think might be the best way to communicate information if that's something you're interested in. So I'll leave it off there, and I'd love to kind of answer any questions or yeah.
Yeah, does it matter in the program, as long as you're in the same utility zone? Power is generated in one town and the subscribers are another? Because otherwise I'd ask Easthampton for sites or to develop a array.
So the Department of Public Utilities actually recently updated the rules for this. And so it used to be you had to be in kind of a similar load zone, so like Eastern Massachusetts or Western Massachusetts. But now, as long as somebody has Eversource as their delivery system, they can sign up for this community solar program. So the project that we would sign subscribers up for is actually in Needham, Massachusetts. It's called 140 Kendrick, but anybody who lives in Western Massachusetts could still participate in this program.
Rooftop. Corporate rooftop or something? What is that?
Yeah, so this is an office building. And so it's a net zero office building, and it is rooftop. We do work with a lot of like schools and houses of worship, and we try to do rooftop more so than kind of landscape. And I can send you kind of our exact portfolio in a follow-up as well if you're interested in kind of seeing where else our projects are.
Okay. Yeah, mine is in Hancock, just for the record, like the one I subscribe to. So
I just want to say, I think that this is something we'd be very interested in trying to integrate into the other things that we're working on. We're just developing our climate plan. And we're certainly interested in helping your low income and moderate income people get access to clean energy at a discount. That sounds like heaven on earth. I guess from our point of view is just figuring out how we can contact the appropriate people and help. And the fact that you're interested in doing tabling and that kind of thing, that would be great for us too, to sort of, because we're hoping that we're going to start having some events, and it would be great to be able to have you participate. This is wonderful.
Yeah, definitely. We recently published our 2023 impact report, which also goes into kind of the other areas of our business. So Sunwealth is an impact investment firm, but the only thing we invest in is solar panels. And so we have an area of our portfolio that is community solar, as you could see with RVC. And we're definitely really focused on kind of expanding our discount and trying to expand even into no cost solar. So this is something we're really kind of excited about and focused on. And when it comes to outreach, we'd love to do kind of tabling in person, webinars, videos, anything that we can get as creative as we want.
how does it work with your partnerships with the municipalities? Do they have to, like, is there some sort of official agreement that they would have? Or like, obviously we want to promote as an energy committee, we're trying to promote renewable energy, low carbon emissions, like those sorts of things. But theoretically, as a municipality, we're kind of agnostic as to which specific company or which project might be doing something. What if we, were to partner with you? How does that change that equation, or what does that mean exactly?
Yeah, so I can tell you with the town of Beckett, we were connected with the Community Action Organization, and our partnership kind of in that instance consisted of working together to send out a co-branded mailer, specifically to residents who were on kind of the R2 rate or who lived in an environmental justice zone. And then with the city of Cambridge, we are a Cambridge-based organization. And so they felt, motivated to kind of be able to promote us specifically. But obviously there's the same, they wanted to be agnostic. And so they actually had their kind of lawyers review our contract and basically decide that we had one of the best offerings. So they felt comfortable supporting us specifically. We can definitely.
Can they compare your contract to, say, like other community solar providers?
Yeah, I believe so. We've been partnered with them for about 4 years. So this was before my time, but we can definitely work with you to kind of undergo any type of screening. We're also working with Mass Energize, and we were chosen through a competitive request for proposal. And so we can also kind of write up some documentation that also explains our programming as well.
Okay.
So I guess that's another question then. If the city decided to do something more formally with you, would they have to agree not to work with any other similar organizations?
I don't believe so. No, we don't. We've never had one of our partners kind of sign contracts in that way. We really work with them however works best. And we're actually partnered with Nexamp and Mass Energize. So the three of us are kind of working together because Nexamp is a market rate provider and we're low to moderate income. And so, we just want to get these types of resources out in front of people. So we wouldn't make you sign any type of, only support SunWealth contract.
So does Nexamp contract with you to handle the low income portion of their projects that they're managing subscribers for?
Yeah, kind of the loose agreement is that we're working together. We kind of have a lot of outreach we're doing and webinars, and then we tell listeners and residents like what the two options are. And then if somebody whose market rate ends up with us, we'll send them to them. And if someone who is, lower income, they'll send them to us. The other way around. Yeah.
Question: would you ever work with an outfit kind of like Habitat for Humanity that does housing for lower income people?
Definitely. Yes. We really enjoy working with groups like Heading Home, Caritas, and Centerboard are some of our partners right now, and they're all shelter providers. And we think this is a really great option because you're almost expanding your impact because organizations like that are doing so much kind of frontlines work. And so if we're able to reduce an organization's energy bill by $6,000, that's a lot of money they can put towards.
Well, I'm thinking specifically because Habitat doesn't have energy bills as an organization, but they end up setting up people with lower income with their own houses. And those people end up having utility bills. I'm working with the local chapter of Habitat for Humanity. And if you will share your presentation, I will share it with them.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. We also really enjoy doing work like that. We work with a lot of Cambridge-based kind of resource providers like the Cambridge Women's Center and, a whole laundry list. And so, yes, that's exactly the model we'll do where we'll provide resources to an organization. And then, you're welcome to present it once you feel comfortable, or you can always pull me in to kind of present it.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of we'll work with almost like community advocates. And so, All In Energy will do energy bill checkups, and then they'll kind of recommend what they believe would best fit somebody.
Okay. Great.
Do you have
Last question, and we're going to.
enough power coming out of that Kendrick Place project in Needham to supply the annual energy needs of 1,800 and whatever 44 households or some portion thereof?
So right now we have about 80 spaces open, and probably more than that, because when you are working with low to moderate income residents, usually their electricity usage is a bit smaller too. So right now we have probably, 80 to 90 spots open. And once that project fills up, we have a whole kind of development list of new projects that we're building. So I don't believe that there's a capacity issue.
Are you looking for rooftops to build on?
So that would be more so of a project development team question. So I am not entirely sure about that, but I can also I can check in with them and see if that is something we're in need of right now.
Yeah, chances are they're probably looking for new projects to develop. But and one of the things that our mayor mentioned to me that we're not going to have time to actually talk about today, but is, potentially opening up, say, like the leasing of city property to companies that are interested in developing solar. And that would be something where there's a very obvious partnership between a company and the city to promote and to pull in subscribers potentially or something like that. So I'll just float that as something that may be in the air here that we may be interested in discussing. I did sort of put community solar outreach as a thing at the end of our agenda that we can all, as a committee, talk about a little bit more. For a couple minutes, but I do want to, in the interest of time, and appreciate Grace your time and effort in coming to educate us and tell us about this, and certainly something that we're looking to promote. Generally speaking, and love the low and moderate income aspect of this and opening it up to those folks and that market. So. Yeah, definitely appreciate you coming to do that.
Thank you. And if you can send your slides, that would be great. Send them to
send them to Cassie and she'll distribute them for this.
Awesome. Yeah, I will send a whole follow-up. I really appreciate the time. So I hope you guys have a nice meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Thank you, Grace.
And then I'll send you those slides so that I can clean up what I just.
Yeah, and you don't need, for the minute purposes, like you don't need to go like.
No, I just want to make sure I didn't say anything wrong.
Yeah, but it's like public speak. That was obviously well beyond what we would normally do. Public speak.
Although that was very
interesting, and we wouldn't really engage with the person. They would just talk.
Right.
But it was kind of a hybrid.
Because this is the second time we've had someone sort of come and talk during public speaking. That wasn't really public speaking.
No, and then she had been invited. She was sort of invited by Kathy and I to come and talk. So it was a little different.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying that, right, it's not really public speaking.
Yeah.
She just did.
No,
probably should put it.
We should put it, yeah.
Maybe I should just put it as the first thing that we did today.
That's fine, because I have, like I said, I have under new other business like this community solar outreach, so that can
that's what I'll do.
That can move up because I wasn't sure if she would be here or what we're going to do about that. So, all right, so let's move on to the next bit and catch up at the end if we need to. On a quick Bees committee update, in terms of committee updates, we did have another meeting. We're meeting again next week. So setting priorities right now and some action items for that. So in terms of public outreach, that's definitely something that the Bees committee is thinking heavily about, and how to engage with the public and how to get people interested in these topics. So there's probably sort of room for us to work together on some things for their agenda, or for our agenda, I should say, as a member of that committee, as well as this committee's agenda, to work on things like community solar outreach. When we're talking about aggregation, obviously we're going to be having a whole public outreach plan, which we'll talk about in a minute. And then, their goal around pollinator gardens and some demonstration projects that they may want to do. And of course, their stuff is also part of what's in the climate action plan.
Right.
So hopefully we'll be able to put it, as they're coming with ideas or maybe engaging in certain activities or events, there may be a place for us to also piggyback on that or work with them on some things. So I will keep you all in the loop on anything specific that is planned for that we might want to be a part of.
Cool.
The other two things on here are things that the mayor brought to me that she was maybe going to talk about, which is a fleet leasing program update, as well as potentially city property being leased to solar companies. I don't have any more information.
Okay, so we'll just
carry those
the mayor is
over.
interested in.
Yeah, we'll just carry those over to the next time and hope that she'll be able to join us in April. for that. If I hear anything else, that's shareable, I will do so. The climate action plan.
Okay, yeah. So, I don't know, I emailed you all the latest draft information that I got, and I had a list of questions in there. And then I met with Weston Sampson since then and had some more questions to ask y'all about. So I didn't know where you wanted to start. If you wanted to start with the draft, the questions I had in my email and that draft, but okay. Because the main question was just this concept of having these 15 that are going to get the bigger, more detailed treatment, and then the rest having this kind of shorter treatment. Generally, you feel like that is something that's okay to do. If it is okay, then you feel like that's the right 15. And if that's okay, then you feel like the elements make sense. So sorry, that's really quickly the three big ones that I had. But how do we feel about that?
Well, it's hard to know without seeing, like, what does it mean? The ones that wouldn't be given the priority, like, what information would be provided about it? I mean, I feel like if it's an action in the plan, why wouldn't we explain everything at the same level? But I am not an expert in developing these kinds of documents. So, but I do, I did look back at the one that I really liked a lot, which was Arlington's plan. And, they go into detail about everything. And it doesn't, I really think it depends on how it's written and how it's presented. I don't know. What do you guys think? That was just what is not important? Why do we even have it if we don't think it's important enough to explain in detail, I guess is.
I think that, so the way that it was explained to me just quickly before you all respond is that the information that's going to be, what I tried to put in those bullets in my email was the kind of a breakdown of what would be included in the big ones versus the short ones.
Yeah.
And so the big ones, all the actions we're going to have, a name and a brief description, identify lead departments and partner, like who's going to do it, an example of the action, and then a time frame for initiation, co-benefits and equity factors, and then the cost range. What the ones that get more detailed is that they'll have probably a little more narrative where it's possible to do so. So it's just a little bit longer description. And then they would get into key components or steps that need to be taken to be successful in that action. Talk about the ease of implementation, like what the barriers for implementing it, a little more detailed narrative about that. Get into kind of possible funding sources and then methods for tracking those metrics. And so one of the things that I attached was one version has the long version, and then the second page is all the short versions, examples. Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
It's okay. I guess, does that feel like the reason that Weston Sampson was kind of presenting it as a possible way forward is because one of the things that they had noticed from the other CAP example, they're not super long, and they were worried that if we had all 51 actions get this kind of minimum 1-page treatment, that it could end up being pretty long. And then that might not be as readable or as helpful as what we might have hoped for. But again, that's your guys' decision. If you think that you'd prefer it, then that's all I need to tell them. But
I'm wondering whether another way of just thinking about the format is like, there are some things on here that are sort of separate, but could be part of, I don't have the whole thing printed out here, but I know like there's something that's about mobility, for example, like that overarching category could get a good description. And then some of the things like about bicycles could just be examples of some of the things that might be done. And then, so it would just be whatever's here. It wouldn't be fleshed out as much. Because like with mobility, if the description is, I'm just using as an example, is about, why mobility is important for us to talk about and the kinds of effects. If we don't do anything, the cause and effect and the pros and the cons. And then some of the things that were not highlighted as going into great detail, I think people would sort of know what that means, I don't know. Like, what is it? Why would we need a whole description of transition to the municipal fleet in hybrids and electric vehicles? I mean, why would that need, as opposed to just talking about electric vehicles, like for the community? And one of them would be the city. would have electric vehicles.
I think the reason for that one, specifically for the city converting its fleet, is that like there's a lot of specific barriers to that. And it's also one of the most impactful things that the city has explicit control over that it could do to reduce is from just the municipal sector of reducing its emissions. Because we've done a lot in that regard since we've been a green community for so long and we have this Honeywell contract. And so that one is like a really big, important one that I think is potentially pretty complicated in terms of how do we actually execute transitioning our fleet fully to being electric. For example, the mayor is exploring this leasing option that I don't know that all the details of that have been sorted out yet or not. But is that the right path forward? Not sure. It might be. I mean, I definitely certainly trust the mayor's judgment, and she has a lot of information on that. So I'm curious to hear what she says. But there's going to be new vehicles that come out for the heavy duty, like the fire department, fire trucks, school buses. How do we get the school buses to not be? I kind of was including all that together, really. Though we have school bus electrification as its own, also highlighted as being expanded upon.
Mhm.
So I guess it sounds like, Connie, you maybe it's a mix of, maybe you think it's okay to expand upon some and not others, or maybe you want to do some kind of different kind of grouping and highlighting. That's what I'm not
sure, it's hard to know until I've seen exactly what it would really be, but, like, for example, like to me, there are a lot of things here about electric vehicles that, the infrastructure piece is really important, but it's not one of the ones that's highlighted. But if we had if we wrote some sort of an introductory explanation about electric vehicles, and then under that, all of the things that encompasses the fleet, including the infrastructure, and then just had something short written about each of those. But I'm not really, on the other hand, do we want to dictate to the city, you've got to have a fleet and this is exactly how you have to do it? And should we do that? Because we're not even sure how the city is going to actually ultimately get the fleet.
Well, I think originally what we had hoped was that the climate action plan would serve as a kind of roadmap to achieve these actions.
Right.
And so my hope is that I don't think you necessarily need to kind of do narrative that kind of justifies why it would be a good action. I think what we need to do is make sure that the actions give at least enough information to help us prioritize which ones to go for and how just to kick off how to start doing them. And so I don't know if you're end up being able to see this, but I think it's okay.
I'm pulling it up.
I can give this to you too, the printed out version.
Oh, okay. Oh, I don't
basically, my hope would be that we could go through the approach of the more detail, the better, in my opinion, for each action. And so having the short versions still include the core info.
I think that there's a number of reasons to focus on major actions and going into detail on them. If we did 50 of them, the way this is outlined already, you'd have a 50-page document without any of the other stuff in the document, probably a 100+ page document. And I guess people do feel like, for other members of the community to kind of dig into it, that there is some value to, brevity, I guess. Backing things up with appendices. Appendices are great, The other thing is money. They're still supposed to develop some kind of website for us, right? They've gone through this whole outreach process with us, planning of this. I don't know if we're tracking their dollars spent and their budget per task according to the RFP, but there's some inevitable limit on what you can ask the consultant to do. The 15, and the other reason is not to do them all is because we won't be able to implement all of them. And that's where I always come in and say, I want to know some pretty good idea of cost ranges, and impact on our greenhouse gas inventory. Mm-hmm. And those are guiding considerations. Mm-hmm. As of course, assuming it's something within our power and jurisdiction to do too. But other than that, it's cost and impact. And hopefully these 15, I haven't really kind of considered that closely, but represent the best chance of getting the biggest impact. And I don't see much cost information, but
Mhm. Okay, so it sounds like generally, broadly speaking, there's some consensus around, yes, we want to highlight things, especially highlight things the municipality has control over that are more easily attainable. I think that's worthwhile. I think versus like, spending a lot of time on the stuff that's going to require external partners or external action. The stuff that the city can control, I think is good. I think in terms of the like which ones are prioritized, you have the 15 highlighted here. There's definitely a few I would quibble with probably. And so I think maybe what we can do as a committee is like commit to reviewing and providing suggestions of feedback on that within like this week or something, maybe. Would that be reasonable?
Yeah,
Betsy?
definitely.
If you think there's some, there's definitely a couple again that I think I would push down the list, and some other ones I would probably elevate. So, and then because they're prepared to go deep dive on whichever 15 are chosen, right? And then do a shorter version.
And it doesn't need to be hard and fast 15. It could be,
Sure.
we could do more, we could do less. So I think it was just that this is helpful to me because the big overarching question was having these 2 tiers of explanation. Is that okay with people? So if that sounds like it is okay and a good path forward, they can get started on, once after this week. If you guys can feel good about the list of ones to highlight on, then I won't send them down a track of, I didn't want them to send them, no, we want detail for all of them. And then to find out that we didn't get detail for all of them,
Right.
or, whatever. So that's
I feel like the fifth one, collaborate with the housing authority to identify energy efficiency and HVAC retrofits. Yes, obviously we want to do that, but that's actually part of a bigger picture that maybe some other things would go under that are about low and moderate income being able to access clean energy and live in buildings that are, tight. And I have to go back through this, but I imagine there are other things that actually would be part of that bigger, like the goal here is not collaborating with the housing authority. The goal is to provide low and moderate income residents access to clean energy and efficient buildings to live in. Right? So I don't think this should be alone highlighted and a lot written about it. I think a lot should be written about providing that to low and moderate income, the EJ community. And so, I haven't done this, and so I will, but I think we should go through this and see which things should be put together with an overarching explanation, and then talk about what are the things that are involved in doing that.
Well, okay. Now, there's going to be a part that comes before the actions that kind of summarizes that, though, correct?
That's my understanding. Yeah. So
Right, there will be like this sort of there will be the plan, like why we need this plan, right? And what we want the plan to do. And then it starts getting broken down into the respective actions.
I really wish you guys would look at this. I think that they have done this really well, and it's very user friendly to read. Maybe this, what they're thinking about is similar. It's hard to know, but I think they should move forward with whatever they're doing. I'm not saying I don't like what they're doing. I'm just saying that in my mind.
Okay, well, I think we get it. There's definitely, we all come at this with, slightly different perspectives and like interests and things that we want to prioritize, which I think is, the point of having all this. I don't think trying to do it now in real time is quite the way to go. So I think if we can.
Should we talk about which ones we don't think should be prioritized right now? Or how do you?
I don't think right now. Cassie's given us a chance to respond via email, and those of us that have done it I haven't done it
But
yet.
shouldn't we respond to each other's suggestions? Maybe on a Google document or something, like, just because I think one thing shouldn't be emphasized, maybe no one else agrees with me.
Well, and it's not for any one of us to decide, right? It's for Weston Sampson's done this. They'll take our input, and then, we'll have a final list. And again, maybe it's not just going to be 15. Maybe they decide, hey, okay, we'll actually do 20.
Oh, I thought we would be the ones who would.
Can we raise hands?
Sure, I'm sorry.
Go that way.
Yeah, sorry.
I think we do. It is for us to decide as a group which ones are our priorities. It's not for us to decide how to write it and whatever, but I think they're asking for that. What are our priorities? Question is there a process we can do? I don't think we can dig into that today. We've got
Right.
so much to do. We've already spent a lot of time on other stuff. But like you said, if we've given a week, we could at least each take the spreadsheet and make a list of the top of each of our own top 15 or 20 actions that we would select with a little rationale of why it should be there. And, if need be, we have a Zoom meeting together to discuss before we give them the final word on it, have a Zoom meeting to discuss reconciling our different priorities
Right.
if they're significant.
And we can make
Good
that,
job.
yeah, we can make that an official, committee meeting. We can put it, if we can get an agenda together, it can be a special thing, like with a one
Yeah.
agenda item, essentially.
This is big.
And, we can do that. If someone can get it in on a Thursday, we can do it anytime that following week. So, and at any time, really, especially if we want to do it as just a remote thing, we don't have to necessarily come in here. We can just do a Zoom or a Google Meet all together, for that purpose. So,
Can I just ask, are we supposed to comment on that, sheet, or should we do separate comments?
So,
Because there's that section that says comments.
yeah, so when you can do it whatever way you want. Everybody, I sent you all these documents. When you
Right.
download them, that's like I give you this paper, but it's virtual. So if you make changes to that, that's your version. You can send it back to me and I'll have that.
Oh, okay, I thought that was the version.
it's not a live version. that
Oh, I
we're all
thought it
working
was.
with.
That's why I
That was confusing to me a little bit because
Or-
how else do I see what other people are putting in for comments? So at some point, I
Right,
know what I'd put into that sheet. What are the comments of the other
Yeah.
people and those things?
That was another question that I had for you all, is how you did want to try to collaborate. In the past, what we've been doing is that everyone would email me separately and then I would compile that all together and share it back to you all, /share to Weston and Sampson, and give you, when I shared it back to you all, that would be an opportunity to be like, hey, did you got this wrong? Or I don't like how you did this.
Right.
Then I share it with Weston and Sampson, my compilation of all the comments I received from you all. But we could share up a live document that everyone, whenever they make changes, can see. Just have to be careful not to delete what other people write or to make changes that are
I-
problems.
well, or else we could just have,
Better if you do that, Cassie. I think it's better if instead of all of us making changes, that you kind of compile the changes. It's going to be neater that way.
Yeah, that's fine.
Can we also have access to each other? I mean, I'd like to see what people's perspectives overall are, and you lose that when it gets all melded together into one. So at least let's save the individual contributions and make them available on Google Docs or something, so I can read everything Jamie says or Connie or
or
Josh.
maybe we can just share, like when you had yours done, just send it to
Yeah,
everybody. Each of us could send.
that's another way to do it.
That is, it's just harder to synthesize it all that way. And I think this has been the question, but we've asked this a couple of times,
Yeah.
like, can we have a city-sponsored technology space to work within? And I don't know that we still have an answer to that, partly because I haven't asked it to the right people either. So one way or the other, I think we'll create something here that we can all operate within.
So right now, the way we're leaving it, we're going to send it to Cassie at this point.
My hope would be that you all could look through those list of highlighted actions and say, if you think that's a good list, you want more, you want less, other ones included. How do you feel about these highlighted ones? Are they the right ones that I highlighted? I feel like I'm going to be able to go back to Weston and Sampson and say this option of having long versus short descriptions is okay. So now we're working on refining the list of which ones are long and short. And then I don't know if the other piece is if people had a chance to read the sample narrative part for the barriers, if you have comments about that, if you generally just like this format and you think it's okay, they'll go forward with the rest of them. So I'm basically trying to tee them up to be able to keep going with the rest of it, to make sure
Right.
that so far this looks good because we just started like with this more solid piece of the writing. And then I had other questions if we still have time, if you're all willing. But it was only a few things.
All right, why don't you let us know what those are, and then I may
Okay. First one
rephrase
is,
this.
do we need to have Weston and Sampson come to the next EAC meeting? Or I can just as a rule, send you guys all whenever we do my check-ins, my bi-weekly check-ins, and then you all can decide whether or not you want to join those. I just didn't know I think I was concerned that there's going to be a huge problem with them even trying to split into these two types of descriptions. And so if that was the case, I can be like, they can come to the next meeting, but it sounds like maybe we're on a good path. And they don't need to come to the next meeting. But
Maybe,
yes.
or maybe we're gonna have an interim meeting
Okay,
that would focus just on this, that they would be involved in. But
Okay.
what else were your
the
questions?
next one was, how do you feel about the actions that EAC is just listed as the people who are gonna, tackle them? And so, that is, trying to think where we have that information. Once we get a different version, I think that will be one of the questions is like, you guys will be tagged on specific actions and make sure that those actions are ones that you think are good to be tagged for EACL, if that makes sense.
Okay,
Like other ones might be DPW or it might be these.
We're giving everybody, veto rights?
I would think, yeah, yeah.
DPW said, no, we don't want to do that.
Honestly, I thought maybe we should.
Millie's feedback, but maybe the mayor should decide.
Yeah.
I don't know, or the city council or somebody, because, we could all be, pushing them off on each other,
right. Okay, and then what else?
This one, I think maybe you guys can just answer me later. Can you think of any local businesses with green initiatives that should be highlighted in the plan? One of the things was about Big E had a compost program, but we don't know if they still do or not. I was like, maybe you guys would know because you live here. River Valley, Valley Solar, whatever. I'll send this in an email and you guys can just get back to me if you have ideas of things. So just curious if y'all as residents had better
Okay,
ideas.
Great.
so Weston and Sampson, is waiting for this feedback because next phase for them is what? Good full draft?
Yeah, yep. So this, being able to set them on the ground running and starting the action descriptions in this format that we decided on is huge. Now they can keep going with that. And then if I don't get anything glaringly crazy about the narratives
Right.
or issues, it's not crazy, but issues with how they're doing the narrative, and they can keep going on that. And the next piece is, these are smaller pieces of, they're going to talk about the business sector. And so in the business sector section, it'd be cool to highlight some businesses, and I'm just not as aware of all of them, if that makes sense. You guys might have heard of other things that you thought was a really cool thing, that this one, look at small business benefit. Yeah, it's, and then, yeah, that really to me is next steps, is they're just working towards a more final draft that we can share with other boards and committees and the public and start getting feedback that way.
So we really need to have this interim meeting if we're going to have it sooner than later.
Yes, I mean, that's why I'm saying, like, to get fully digest what they've given us here, and to prioritize, to provide whatever feedback we want. I mean, this is like,
Right.
this is kind of the last window of opportunity to provide major feedback into the overall construction of this. Because obviously they're on a tight, well, not super tight, but they're on a schedule, right? And they don't have forever for us to hem and haw. And I know, again, speaking for myself, you've been slow to review some of this stuff and actually like put my thoughts into it and provide the feedback. So I think prioritizing that, maybe even doing a separate meeting that focuses just on the climate action plan for us as a committee, where we can have maybe a more expansive conversation about a couple things too, and not feel constrained by, a bunch of other agenda items that we have. But it also means that we all have to commit to spending some time offline, reviewing this, and putting some thought into it and showing up with thoughts and not like trying to read it and to deal with it in real time. Right. So coming in with some things that we can talk about so that we can keep it to a little bit tighter time frame.
That all sounds good to me. This is the last thing I was going to say. Green Communities has a new designation, or is creating a new above and beyond designation that cities can get, called a climate leader community. There are certain criteria that we need to meet to be able to get that. And I can talk about that at the Green Community section when we get there. But my hope was that this climate action plan could work to serve as the roadmap portion that we need to have. Basically, that roadmap portion needs to show that we're going to become net zero carbon emissions by 2050. It's like a specific number on it. And they wanted the baseline to be 2022. I already proactively asked Weston Sampson if they can try to see if they can make it do that. But I wanted to double check if that makes sense to you guys. Yes. Okay. I want to make sure that was okay. To try to, I don't know. I don't anticipate that it would change the plan very significantly, but they need to tell me if it's still within the scope and we can't change the contract or anything like that. So I'll get back in touch with you all about that. But
the most recent stuff we can use, I think the best is for the best.
I have a quick question. Cassie, is the latest one, the latest version of is it the one you sent out on March 11th?
yes. Yep. That is the most recent documents that I have. Yeah.
Great. Okay, thanks.
Clarifying that, Josh. Okay, so if we were to say, try to set a meeting for like, say, 2 weeks, like April 8th for an hour, let's say, try to limit ourselves to an hour. How does April 8th work for people?
I will not be here April 8th.
You will not be here.
Yeah,
April
it's
8th.
the 8th, yeah.
Okay. And again, this would be virtual
Is that a
meeting, it could be online.
It is Monday.
It is a Monday, so we could look at another day too. What if we did next Wednesday or Thursday at 3:00, like April 3rd or 4th? Are you here for that, Kathy?
That would work for me.
Say it in 3.
April 3rd or 4th, let's stick with like 3
I can do
o'clock.
that.
Yeah.
I would not be able to do the 3rd. Actually, if neither one of them works for me. I'm sorry.
Okay, would it, or a later time?
Later would be fine. Can we do like 5?
Do 5 on one of those days?
Either one of those days would be fine for me.
Okay, either one. Okay, I have to double check myself. I should be able to do either one of those. Thursday might be a little tougher for me at 5, so maybe if we did, let's pencil in Wednesday.
You know what? Thursday at 4. I could do Thursday at 4.
Thursday at 4.
Yeah.
Okay. Survey says. I think that's good for everybody. All right, so let's pencil that in. Thursday the 4th at 4:00.
Okay.
Our special session.
Thursday the 4th at 4:00.
4 at 4 p.m.
All right.
All right, so I'll get an agenda done up for that and try to make sure we got a Google Meet. I mean, do people want to meet in person if there's an option, or do we want to just do it virtual?
I'm fine.
Yeah,
with that.
Or whatever works best for other people is fine with me.
Josh, you said virtual.
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
I just try to
Can you
get,
invite WNS, Weston Sampson?
yeah, if they can be there, they can be there. That's great. And then everyone's homework between now and then is to, actually do some more digesting of this and come up with ideas. So again, maybe we can share some of those in a document beforehand. That's the goal, that we'll all be able to have some back and forth before we actually come together with that all. And then hopefully Weston and Sampson can be there, and this can be a sort of a larger climate action plan discussion.
Would it help if I sent another email listing out what my questions were again?
If you want to re-up that, that's probably not, especially for Cassie, who is not here,
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
as well. So,
And I said, I would be interested in knowing what you guys are thinking. Yeah, if you want to just send out your notes, I think it would be useful to see.
yeah, even if it's just via email,
Yeah, just to send it out, like tweet to the group.
if I
Are we
can get it-
allowed to do that because of the open meeting?
Yes, because we're not discussing,
Okay.
not deciding.
We're not deciding.
We're not deciding
We're not
anything.
deciding anything, okay.
And we're not, yeah.
Yeah.
And again, we're only advisory, so really, like, we can't get away with very much.
I'll include it in ways that you all can communicate with each other.
Okay. All right, so yeah, next step for that. Next step, review, provide some comments via email or in a document if we can get one together, and then we'll meet again next week, end of next week.
And then, are we cool with our context going to go with it? Or is there
Yeah.
anything?
Yeah, cover our
Good.
context.
Thank you for doing that. That's,
I just wanted to double make sure
Yeah.
it's, I can go.
Is there any, nothing more to discuss for that, right? We've got a plan and like whatever.
I was just concerned because last time people wanted to see what more the final product was. So if that sounds cool to people, I'm gonna go with it.
Yeah, Josh, you good with that?
Yep.
Okay. And then public and stakeholder review plans, I guess we don't really need to get into that too much yet, until we know more about when draft and things are going to come out. So we'll put that for push to next time. Our opt-in stretch code updates.
I met with Connie Denham on March 10th.
Mhm.
And actually, no, it was a couple of days before that. I met with Connie and she is on board. I sent her some information as well. And then I got in touch with Lisa Cunningham, who is one of the architects who started Zero Carbon
Right.
Massachusetts, which is an organization that is primarily interested in getting the specialized code passed in cities and towns. And Connie and I met with 2 people from Bedford who had just gotten theirs passed, which was very useful. one of the things that they reminded us about, which Cassie had already said, is that Chris Mason is someone who is the people in his position, the regional coordinators of green communities, are going to communities and doing presentations about specialized codes, like to city councils and things. So if we want to use him, we certainly can. And I think he's very familiar with Easthampton. He'd be a great person to come do that. Let me see what else, if there's anything else. Some of the things that they said about just in terms of the community is to keep the message simple, to call it the specialized code. Just don't call it the opt-in code. It's the specialized code. There seems to be a lot of confusion about the difference between the specialized code and what's already in place. You know, the big changes in terms of the building code already exist because we're green communities, and what actually it would change as far as the specialized code is concerned is relatively simple. And it's important to sort of keep the message simple in the same way. So
does Connie have steps forward at the city?
And so after we met with them, then the big question in Connie's mind was just, well, what exactly do we need to write? So I went to the city websites of all the, because if you look at the map that the state of Massachusetts puts together about which communities have actually passed a specialized code, most of them are towns. I guess maybe in Massachusetts, most municipalities are towns. I don't know, but I went to all of them that were cities, and there were maybe 7 or 8 of them, and found what they had ultimately written. And I sent all of that to Cassie. So I just heard from her this afternoon, and she invited me to come to their next meeting on Thursday, which I cannot go to. I just can't do it. So she's looking for another date early in April for me to go to the ordinance committee, because they are the committee that would look at it first and do a presentation to the ordinance committee.
You said Cassie, do you mean Connie?
I mean, Connie. And there's Cassie, Connie. There's so many of us with the same name. Always correct me. I have word retrieval issues. Yeah, I mean Connie Denham. Yeah. And Homar is, Connie says that Homar is on board with this as well, although he wasn't able to come to the meeting that she and I had. So things are moving along finally, and I will. I'm hoping that I'll be at the meeting. I'll let you know what meeting I'll be going to when that gets actually scheduled.
Okay, yeah, because if I can be there, I'll try to.
Oh, that would be great. Okay. So that's where things stand with that.
Okay, good to hear some progress from that.
Yes.
From the city council side.
And I'll be going to the DLER listening session, which should be interesting to hear.
Oh, yeah.
What
Okay.
issues they've had, or
Yeah.
things they like. So
Right, yeah, that'll be useful. So
Is that this week?
Wednesday.
Yeah, I did have that.
Okay, on to the municipal aggregation piece. So trying to get past the holdup, which is basically me. Yes, I do to help with that potentially. Partly, well, yeah. You should help me help myself. Is that how it is? And tough love is what's in order here. So I was trying to get in touch and try to have a meeting with Lindsay from the mayor's office to just sort of help get my head around like all these pieces that we need to do as part of this. And some of it Good Energy is going to do, but some of it, the city's got to do. So in terms of, putting public notice out there and like getting, things put up on city digital properties, whether it's Facebook pages or the municipal website. So she sent me back some answers today. Get my phone open about a bunch of that stuff. So I have a little more clarity on what needs to happen there and what we need to do. So some of the things that we have to do are there's social, and this is coming from the plan that Good Energy put together. It's like social media outreach via the city and EAC accounts or city accounts on like Facebook and everything else. And Lindsay can help us with that. So there's a public notice that needs to be put out in local publications. Her main question is who's responsible for the payment for that, which I don't know. I assume the city is on the hook to pay for any costs associated with that. If there's press releases, she does handle them. She can help us write one, according to the branding guidelines.
You're talking about Lindsay right now?
Talking about Lindsay, yes. And then we have to host at least one community-wide presentation, which would be sort of at the end of the public comment period. Last time we had talked about doing that maybe during Earth Week. We're obviously going to be pushing a little bit past that, probably into May at this point. So we'll have to think about when, what a good day for that will be. But I need to actually get a framework around the rest of the schedule first. And then also distributing program details to key locations. So they talk about, distributing stuff to the library, the Council on Aging, maybe the Housing Authority or other stuff like that. And Lindsay said that we can, access buildings for drop off during business hours, for any of that stuff. So that's a piece. And those are the different pieces that need to be put together. And I owe Good Energy a response as well as some stuff. So
do we need to maybe decide who's going to take charge of doing some of that stuff in this group? Like have a little sort of separate.
Yeah, and that's even something that I can just assign out. Like we can discuss via email, or if I know, like, okay, I need somebody, to help with this right now, then maybe we can. Okay. Because I need again to. Trying to take it all in as this one big ball of like all these actions is a little bit paralyzing sometimes. We're like, okay, we gotta do this, and that. So, so I think I just need to like piecemeal out the different pieces.
So if you can just like maybe send us an email and say, these are the things I need done by this date, who can do this, who can do it, and we'll just let you know if we can do it. Is that what you want to do? Perfect.
Yeah, exactly. Question. Yes, John.
Did I miss something? I haven't seen the draft plan. Did you put it out there, or are we still waiting to get it?
The draft
I thought we were
education
going to look
plan?
at it before, but my understanding is we were going to get a look at it before the public release.
The education, the draft,
The aggregation plan,
yeah, so.
not the publicity plan.
Right, not right now, basically, the main thing that we have to submit to DPU and all that anyway is just like the public outreach plan. There's a framework for how it's going to go. We're not actually reviewing like plans from companies about like what it's going to be, like rates and stuff like that quite yet. Like, but I'll share.
There's going to be an RFP,
Eventually, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I will share, and I'll go back and dig up the current stuff and share it again, so everyone's got it fresh in their minds. To do that. So, so I will share those details with everybody, so we've got that and we can review. And again, if there's something that, we want to discuss for a couple of minutes next week, we can always have a quick additional agenda item. And hopefully I'll have some more feedback and I'll get things moving again with Good Energy before that, so we can have a concrete plan for moving forward. So,
because a lot of the things that you describe aren't going to happen for a while, aren't they? The things like the public comment period.
well, the public comment period is going to open. No, they're trying to open that like now.
So what are they commenting on? I mean, there's no.
Well, there's going to be right. So Good Energy's got to put up a website for the program for that whole thing, and then the city's got to have a piece on our digital platform. So again, that's the stuff that needs to be coordinated and like helped to make happen.
Okay, that's why I was confused by that. Okay.
Yeah. So again, when I share documents, it maybe a little bit clearer in there how it's all going to go. And I said I had a whole meeting with Good Energy, and I took a bunch of notes, and I can't find the notebook that I put all in, of course. So that's not helping my cause either. I'm sure they're frustrated with my slowness, but that's it for that. So we'll commiserate via email and move that forward. Moving along on the agenda for the heat pump pilot program, do we have anything further?
Sorry, I didn't said I should try to reach out, and I actually wasn't even able to reach out, but they're supposed to reach out to us when there is some kind of development. But I think we're just waiting on that RFP to get approved internally with CEC, and then it would be issued. And then like try to get responses to the RFP. But yeah, sorry, I'm not getting more details.
Okay, that's right. Do you think something like I should try to reach out and ask just for an update, or?
No, I just do it. I think
okay.
I just do it.
I would just say maybe not next week's meeting, but our next sort of regularly scheduled committee
Nice.
meeting, which is on April 22nd. Try to set a reminder to try to make sure we have some information before that would be
Okay.
good.
That sounds good.
So what's happening is the DOER folks are waiting for Clean Energy Center review of the RFQ, whatever they call
For
it.
them to finalize and be like, this is the final
Yeah.
RFP, RFQ, I don't.
Right.
And then issue it and see what they get back.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure what they're really waiting on. It might be just internal review is slow and hard. So I don't know. But yeah, I'll try to get an update for y'all.
Okay. I left the thing on here about the REAP grant, but we did talk about that last time, and that kind of snowballs with the community solar outreach is sort of this other ball of like, letting people know incentives and things that are out there. The heat pump pilot is one that pushes people towards a specific set of tasks. Like the REAP one is a little bit more expansive, I think, right? Potentially, and it can be for lots of other customers as well. So,
Okay.
yeah, I think as we're thinking about like outreach and climate action plan and just sort of like getting people to take action, it's just another piece of the puzzle that we'll leave in here for now. All right, and I left these next couple of things on, even though I know we're in not a lot of progress right now. We're still in a holding pattern with communities in terms of figuring out what our next grant proposal would be. But if there's any further updates?
Very quickly, I got all the questions that they had outstanding questions from the annual report. Those were all, I got them answered, except for one that I'm still working on, but he was like, it's okay. So it is considered we are in compliance with our report. That is done.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. The grant proposals, yeah, agreed. Still holding pattern. Chris Mason said that he was more than willing to come to a meeting and talk about what the grants are possible. I haven't seen the latest PON being out, which is like the description of the grant process for this block, as it were, because they do 2 each year,
Right.
which I feel like is kind of tied up in this Green Communities leadership thing.
Yeah,
So
seems like it.
I think, and I looked at the ones from last year, and honestly, nothing really jumped out to me as being like an obvious good fit to tackle right now, if that makes sense. I think it would be easier once we had the cats in, but he is happy to come talk to us anytime. He's like really nice and very obviously knowledgeable. And this climate leader designation, I think, is something that we definitely as a city should try to go for. The first, if Weston and Simpson cannot incorporate the roadmap element I was talking about before, which is one of the criteria, there is a competitive technical support grant that I can go for. It's through April 12th. It's not like our last chance.
Mhm.
We might be able in a better position to be more successful in that application for the technical assistance once we get the stretch code adopted. They're like, the more of the other criteria you already have done, the more competitive you're going to be for this technical assistance.
And as you pointed out last meeting, cities and towns are eligible for a lot of grants. If they have this designation, they will not be considered if they don't have it. So
There are certain different types of things.
it's definitely something we should do.
One of the things that
And you have to have the specialized code in order to be,
exactly right.
get this
Right.
designation.
Exactly right. So
By the way.
Yeah. But so that's just for this technical assistance to make the roadmap if Weston Sampson won't do it. There's going to be another round of that coming in the future. To be one of the first wave of climate leaders, that's application is due in July, end of July, but then there's going to be another wave in December. And so we might not have all the criteria met by July. It'd be cool to be one of the first, but
Right.
it's okay if we're not. It's kind of like anyone can become a green community anytime. Not like
Right,
one chance.
right.
So yeah, yes.
One thing I finally got my hands on, I was to just send it out in an email, but looked at the spreadsheet for the grants that have been put out there already, for the green community grants and who got what for what.
Oh, yes.
Mhm.
And that was interesting. I was just surprised by how large some of them are.
Yes.
$200,000 to $500,000 even in some cases. So, that could be a boon, once our plan's in place that go for something on the large size. The roadmap part, you said whether, us having a zero carbon roadmap, dimension of our plan and that being critical for qualifying. This is what I've been bringing up along the way here. And I thought when we put the RFP out that this was a roadmap. It's not, it doesn't come with warranties and guarantees that you get your money back if you don't get there by 2050, but something that's plausible. You take this chunk out of this portion of your waste stream, your energy consumption, and this portion over here, this portion in this decade, the next decade, what you can project out. That's what the state did. That's what I thought we were getting. So if something's got to get sacrificed, along the way here, that's one thing I haven't seen a lot of evidence of it yet, either in terms of this action is going to take out so much of your greenhouse gas emissions.
Yeah, so,
Well, Anyway,
no, I understand what you're saying. And like the climate action plan, my understanding, again, I agree with you, will be this roadmap. It identifies these explicit actions that we need to take to get there. The difference is that climate leader communities wants a super specific kind of format for the roadmap. And I don't know if it makes sense to rework. One of the big pieces being that they want the baseline for the greenhouse gas emission inventory to be 2022, which we had a long,
2022.
correct. We had a long discussion about that, and it felt like 2017 was a more accurate one because of climate, COVID changes and things like that. So it was like, does it make sense to go back and switch now, or like do a second one, or things like that, or they have a super prescribed like form for the roadmap that they want for it, that I'm like, does it make sense? Would Weston Sims have to do extra work to also show?
Maybe we can
that?
talk about that at
Exactly.
the meeting we're talking about, because
can you share that, the format?
Yeah, actually,
I'd like to see what-
I'll give this to you now because I just have it, but, they, where is it? But they, I don't think that what Weston Sampson is presenting isn't what we were asking for. It's more just that what they want with this climate leader community, it seems slightly different to me, that I don't know if it's like we're too far along to rework it.
are there any communities that already are climate leaders?
It's a new designation. And actually, the first one's in July. First application's in July, first one, next one's in December.
It's
Okay.
like, that was all like a lot of information, so, but essentially my summary is I'm working on it. We'll
Right.
look into it more. Keep us in line with that as much as we can.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, to do it by July means we'd have to have the specialized code adopted, which I think, I was going to say it's a stretch, sorry. But maybe the city council will be able to have it done by then. But even so, like to do that and then turn around with an application by July, probably. Again, I'd love to be one of the first communities to get the designation. I think it'd be great.
Love to be one of the top first 50.
Yeah.
Make number one.
No, I mean, I doubt there'll be 50 that make it by July. I would guess. I mean, how many have even passed the specialized code at this point? In the Commonwealth?
Something.
There you go.
Yeah.
So there's only 20 something that are even eligible for it at the moment, based on just that one criteria, let alone having a roadmap and everything else. So we're in a decent spot, I'd say, to go forward. I definitely think it's something that we want to prioritize, like getting that designation, because it will open
Yeah.
up other opportunities for us. And it also means that we've done a lot of the heavy lifting and hard work on the front end to get there. So, think about July, but like really December is probably more likely with all that other, but in the meantime, I think it's a good point you make about, we should be, this climate action plan should have elements of a roadmap that gets us there. And then it shouldn't necessarily be it shouldn't have to be a whole separate process to like create that roadmap. So I think to your point, like, yeah, is it just like a little bit more money they need to then take it and flesh it out and like really drill down into some of those amounts and like what the time frame is for actually knocking those carbon emissions out to get you to zero.
Because the only other piece of it is if it's not in that, who's going to do it? The roadmap, if we're going to have them do it.
So we can apply for this technical assistance grant where they'll assign us, they will assign us another consultant to do
Oh,
this.
really?
Like, yeah, it's funny. Or it might be easy. And honestly, the way they described it, it was like, wouldn't be super hard to maybe do it myself. I don't know. It's kind of confusing, but it's all new. So, I'm waiting for Weston Simpson to get back to me, basically, and tell me what they think.
Okay. Yeah, and again, that's something we can add there. If they come to the next meeting next week, we can ask them about that a little bit. Maybe that'd be some sub portion of the agenda to speak about that.
Okay.
Okay. We have any school bus updates to share?
It's the same thing for 3 months. We're waiting to hear from the school committee invite to make a presentation on. I've been beginning to wonder, should we maybe talk to the mayor and see if she can use some influence in the school committee to, not let this slide
Right.
till July or August or something.
I think we could reach back out to them potentially maybe and say, hey, we got the impression that you needed to get through some stuff, get a few months under your belt, and then,
It was budget season.
It was budget season, and they got, contract negotiations, they got to hire a superintendent, a lot of that stuff's still ongoing. But, they did say, April or May is what I've got in my notes. So, we could reach out and just say, hey, we're still here, still ready to come and present when you're ready for us, and see if they say, okay, yeah, come to this meeting, or if they say, hey, we're still not sure yet, or what have you.
I'm happy to do that. I don't get a lot of responses.
Okay.
Maybe direct phone calls are better than emails or texts.
Could be Megan Harvey, who's on the, I'm now going to be coaching her kid in soccer. So
That's because you want to get a lot of playing time.
that's right. Yeah.
So I'm
Practice
putting down
tomorrow.
Jamie will reach out.
That's right. Jamie will
I think
strong
for the
arm
minutes, for the minutes, you should record that was said in jest. Okay? So we don't get any other.
No, but I mean, just say I will probably see her in person at some point. I could ask. If not, then between now and end of next week, maybe we send a quick email to Laura and Megan, and or to the members of the finance subcommittee. Yeah. Eric. So just saying, reminder that we'd love to come and present to the full school committee when you're.
What is that subcommittee called?
The finance.
Finance, thank you.
Okay, so that'll be the action item for that. Hopefully we'll get some clarity and get an invite. I don't have anything more for electric vehicle infrastructure. If somebody else has seen or done anything around that.
The only thing that I have an update for is that I was trying to figure out, I had thought that I don't know if I told you this before, I thought that the cost had been reduced, we had gotten a new rate plan and that the demand charge had gone away.
Right.
It had not, I was confused. But what we did do, which is good, is that they were assigned we get credits from the South Deerfield solar array.
Okay,
And they've assigned those credits to pay the Eversource bills.
okay, yeah,
So I apologize for not
I don't
understanding that.
understand though. I thought that Boston, that it was a bill that got rid of the fee. Why are we
But
still
it was that was a big, long explanation that I gave at previous meetings, but it's confusing, is that it impacts, Eversource and National Grid do have these kind of rebate programs / reimbursement programs or whatever you want to call it for the demand charge, but we don't qualify because we don't have enough demand, if that makes sense. It's really confusing and hard. And that's how, as far as I understand it, and I apologize because again, it just is bumping up on my understanding of this field at all. Whenever I deal with this. And so the concept of these credits now paying for it, and I don't have a way to find out about this until I figure out who to ask.
where
So
did that information come from that the credits are being applied
came from
to?
the procurement officer. So the procurement officer is,
Easthampton.
yeah. So that's how they've been paying for the bills. But the bills still have the demand charge on them, but we've been using solar energy to offset those bills, if that makes sense. Which I think is a good idea, but it is just something
Yeah, we're still paying.
Yeah,
It's just nice we're still paying, because otherwise that would be defraying our electric bill, or the rest of our electric bill.
so the question is, still the demand charge issue. I don't know. I can answer
I have to
that.
talk to Dan Carey about this.
Yeah, maybe.
When this was at its peak, I don't know, no pun, but it peaked, man. But when this was at its peak, I think 6 months, I don't know, 6 months ago, I remember, and Bruce was trying to get his chargers, program put together. We were following this, and my recollection is I read DPU proceedings that said that they have an agreement with the utility companies, an agreement or requirement of the utility companies to come up with a plan to essentially, remove those demand charges. And
I went to that Recharge America conference and it seemed to be that was a big focus of Eversource and National Grid gave presentations talking about those changes that they made. And I was very certain that they did not apply to us because of these certain factors. We're just not.
Well, the procurement officer surely has looked into this to find out whether or not Or has anybody, who would be responsible for making sure
I'm trying my best.
it's you,
I'm
you're
trying my
responsible?
best. There may be someone else who's also doing it, who doesn't even think to
Yeah.
talk to me, which is super valid, because who knows, but, I don't know, I'm really trying, but I don't know much about this at all.
I'm happy to go back and look at whatever the decisions were at the state utility level, that what they're supposed to do for the heck, for the heck of it, in case it's a matter of saying, okay, Eversource, this is what the state says you should be doing. This is what you're offering us. There's some discrepancy,
I figured out that we have like a rep for Eversource, and I got to give them a call and they haven't called me back. So I'm trying to maybe start it there.
Yeah, with that, right. You can get Eversource on it.
Yeah.
That's definitely first thing.
That's what I'm trying
Have
to
you
do.
seen a copy of a bill with any of this on it, or is it just?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
Yep, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because I know the other piece was that the schools were potentially keeping theirs off because of the demand charge, but I guess it's the same thing as the city then offsetting the demand
I
charge
don't
on
know.
the school side.
I'm still, I'm like trying to figure out. on
Yeah,
their end.
okay, because
Those be on top of that.
which think, yeah, I wonder if they,
And I feel like it says every time, like, I'm going to try to reach out to Nick, and I just like, of all the other things, it's like so easy to keep putting down
Yeah,
below
yeah, sure.
that it's my problem. So
well, do you want to reach out to Nick? You've been in touch with him. Do you want to just
Sure.
reach out and ask if he, about that?
What he's
Take
seeing on his
Kathy,
bill.
take that
What's
off
going
of your,
What's going on his bill, and also I'll try to trace it back to, the only thing is that it is good to establish that connection. You already got a call in to the Eversource rep. That's where that conversation should happen, but I can look at the specific of what's happening with the schools, and I can look at the rules of the DPW,
that'd be good.
DPU, and leave that part to you.
okay, yeah, thank you. Yeah, that sounds like a good plan. So thanks you all for your patience
Okay.
with that one. That's like,
No, it's Byzantine, at best, so. All right, TPU rules and. All right, so that brings us to the new and other business here. John, I did throw the Easthampton Solar property census on here because you had shared that information with us previously about the list of properties and all that. I don't know if there's anything that we want to do with that or something.
I think it's a baseline or benchmark going forward. If rooftop solar is going to be a significant part of us hitting our 250 net zero, we need to know what the potential, well, there's theories about what the potential out there is for rooftop solar. And then there's what we got right now in 2023, probably with the best qualifying households, the best spots, people with the money to do it. That's what we have. And that's where we're starting from, and we have to get, what are our expectations? I would have hoped that the plan might have said, we can expect, 100 megawatts of solar, rooftop solar electric power being generated in within Easthampton to go against all the demand, all the usage. And if they did have a projection like that, it's good to know where you're starting from. That's all. So that's what that is.
So will we get that projection? No, that's not going to be part of it.
no, it didn't seem like that level.
Before that.
To me, it seemed like it was more trying to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. That seems like the focus, but
It's so hard to do a kind of projection like that. Also, I would imagine, I don't know.
yeah, I mean, I think that I don't know. I know that you shared that before, but maybe that's something we could just send it to them and be like, I'm curious to see what they say about this climate leader doing these things. Maybe
Yeah.
that'll
Right.
help our- like how they're
Okay.
gonna do it, but
Yeah.
Okay, but it's, good data to have, and something to
And
point
then when
to.
we form our Easthampton Solar Energy User Association, we know where to outreach. Who to outreach to.
Right, does it have addresses and stuff in it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it doesn't have names.
right,
That's accurate.
right.
Well, actually, wait a minute, it does have names. What doesn't it have? Yeah, no, it's got names. Yeah.
Okay, that might actually.
Might not be the current owners, because some of them were
Right.
10, 15 years.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's interesting because for the Bees Committee too, they're talking about outreach to specific people who may be predisposed to wanting to do something, right? Like people who
Yeah.
already have solar, it may be an
Yeah.
interesting list of
Yeah.
folks to start with for outreach. Like maybe you want to do, a pollinator garden or something, or interesting. All right. To them, let them know. Okay, then the other piece here, last piece is I put the community solar outreach, which again brings us back to Grace's presentation from earlier. And community solar as one piece of the puzzle of things that we want to promote within the community. It is, it's a low barrier to entry. It allows for people like renters and other, folks who don't own property or for whom solar wouldn't work otherwise to actually invest or to get a piece of solar energy, not really invest because there's no cost up front, which is another great thing. So it allows lots of people to take advantage of solar. To me, it's speaking personally, it is like the future of solar versus like one-off rooftop projects. I do think it's the way to go to get people involved, you can do, so much more, than just like 8 kilowatts at a time, where you can do like megawatts at a time.
May I ask a very basic question? Are we assuming that, if someone who's eligible for this program would be able to get their electricity for a reduced rate than what we'll be able to provide through our aggregation program?
Doesn't matter because it works with aggregation. Aggregation would not be affected by community solar.
No, I'm just trying to understand, is
They will get a credit on their bill even after aggregation happens, and they will still get the 10 or 20% discount that the community solar program offers.
That's good.
Because
you'll have to, we won't take time now. You can explain that to me later.
okay, because aggregation is replacing the electricity supplier on your Eversource bill. So if aggregation will only affect your Eversource bill, what you're doing now with a second bill that's providing you a credit will still provide that same credit.
I see.
What we're hoping is that aggregation is going to lower the bills.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
I understand.
Okay.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, if we can lower everybody's bills with aggregation versus the basic Eversource supply right now, then everybody wins. And if you're doing community solar, you're still coming out even better, essentially. And people that already have solar on their house, it's not going to affect anything about their net metering credits or anything else that they have.
Right.
But again, aggregation is literally just saying lifting out Eversource as a supplier and putting in whoever we put in its place.
Okay. I
for the
see.
majority of people.
Thank you.
Yeah. So
it's one line on your Eversource bill, essentially. It's your Eversource. It's your.
Well, it's the supply. Yeah. Yes.
There's 18 other.
Right on the delivery side.
still there.
Yeah, the delivery side and everything. But yes, essentially. So anyway, community solar. I don't know how everybody felt about the presentation from Sunwealth or potentially working with them as a partner, or having them come in and do something like that, whether we would need to do an RFP that they would reply to, or put something in place where we could say, we've chosen them to do something. I think, Cassie, when you put it in front of me, your concern was like, can we as a municipality be endorsing like a private business essentially for something like this? And legitimate concern, but obviously she spoke to that a little bit.
And I think my misunderstanding or not yet needing clarity on was is this the kind of thing I get these in the mail that are trying to get me to get solar, and it's confusing? Is it the same? Is it something different? And are now we going to be letting them put the city seal on these mailers? Maybe that is a good thing if we could do it in a more targeted way. I mean, I don't think at all that I got a perception from her that it was some kind of malicious or a nefarious thing. No, at all. But I'm just thinking that was helping me to understand that. But then, I don't know, but sounds like if they work with other communities, maybe it's fine.
Well, that's why I was a little surprised to see that, but that others community, and again, they've had their lawyers look at stuff and whatever.
My question too is: are there other similar companies that are working with lower and middle income people that also would like to get involved with
potentially?
Easthampton?
Yes.
Because that's really the question. If there are other companies that want to do this, we don't necessarily want to just get involved with them, but maybe we want to get involved with any company that wants to do this for
right. I mean, you could point. Well, that's the thing is you can promote community solar generally, and the low income people will find the spot because I'm pretty sure every community solar project has a carve out that requires a certain number of their subscribers be low to moderate income subscribers. That's part of the whole community. That's why they're able to offer a discount. to everybody at least.
But
part
they
of
don't,
it.
but they only work with lower. income.
Right. So that's what I was
That's what
sort
you're
of trying to inquire with her about before. So Nexamp, who's a bigger solar developer, they probably developed the project and they probably carved out the low and middle income piece and gave that to
Right. That's what she said.
Sunwealth and basically said, okay, you all deal with this piece.
Right.
You're going to specialize that. We specialize in just overall, subscriber acquisition. So
So that was-
Nexamp will have their own
So
subscriber
that would be a
acquisition
question
people.
just to add, is like, are there other companies that are just working with that population? And,
Yeah.
or maybe there aren't that many.
There aren't, or there's other companies that are just community solar developers and owners, and they do both,
Mhm.
right? They're doing the low
Right.
and moderate
Okay.
income and the regular income stream, and they're just dealing with the whole project rather than
Okay.
splitting it up.
To me, the other question is, who has the authority to like agree to do stuff with Sunwealth? Like, I don't know.
Right.
Can you guys just do that as a committee? Do we have to get approval from
I'm
the
sure
mayor?
We would not,
Yeah.
the mayor would definitely need to approve,
I don't know,
certainly. But
Me not having a supervisor right now, I'm like, I'm not really sure. No, I'm just asking.
lawless.
Right.
Do whatever you want.
Yeah, right. But I don't think I have the authority.
Right.
So that, I think is the other question mark. But I was like, oh, just come to the meeting and talk to us about it. I can't give you an answer right now if we could do that or not.
Right.
But maybe it is just a question you ask the mayor.
Yeah, I mean, absent a sustainability or energy, coordinator at the city level, it would fall to the mayor to improve and do anything like that. So again, if she's here or when she's here next time, we can ask, again, just talking about leasing city property to a solar company. Like if keep calling them Gridwealth, that's a different company, Sunwealth or Nexamp or something, they came to the city and said, hey, we want to take your municipal parking lot, put some solar canopies on it, and then run a community solar program. Then, the lease is the one legal part. Are we officially endorsing or helping them promote, subscriber acquisition? That's
Right.
a different agreement. But it could all be part and parcel of the same thing. If we put out an RFP and we say, okay, this is the best community solar that we can, the option that we can bring to the city from a leasing standpoint, and we're going to help promote subscriber acquisition for them because we want local people to be able to take advantage of it. And I think that's within the purview of the city to say that we can do that.
Okay.
If it's just like, we're promoting some project in Needham because they have 80 slots and they see environmental justice communities here that they can easily slot people into. It's like, but it also saves people 20%
Right.
potentially on their electric bill, at least a portion of, or 17% or whatever the average was. So, that's not nothing. And that's with, what we want to promote, generally speaking, right? And so I think community solar as a concept is something we want to promote. That fine line of a private business or a specific project versus just sort of writ large, hey, here's all the list of things you can do, climate action plan or, promotion, a tabling event that we're going to do. That's hey, you could do community solar. You could do, there's all these REAP things for rural, because we're a rural community. You can go to Mass Save. We got this new heat pump program that we're going to run. You can sign up for that. We want to have this menu of options for people or help people find their way to all these different things.
So I think this is a really interesting question of whether or not there's a company that we would want to actually endorse and have a relationship with. And if so, who else is out there? It's an interesting question.
Yeah. Like I said, my community solar is with a different company. There are several of them.
Right. No, I didn't know there were any that were the targeted lower and moderate income.
Mhm.
That's what I didn't know that.
Right. But she talked about partnering with the community action group, which
Yeah.
really does the low income,
Right.
Mass Save outreach, things like that. So, that's an obvious one and gosh, it was a good, Habitat for Humanity is a good thing. Finding those other organizations are already working in those communities, right? Rather than us endorsing or whatever, they can lead them to those customers probably more easily. I guess they probably feel if they get the city endorsement, it helps them look official, helps them get people's attention and be like, oh, this must be legit.
Yeah.
I don't need to really ask as many questions.
It doesn't do any harm, I don't think.
Right. No, I don't think, no, again, there's no cost. You're not contractually obligated to stay in the program forever. It's not going to escalate. It's really just it's taking advantage of a government incentive that you wouldn't necessarily understand on your own or be able to do as easily. All right. Well, and she's good. Well, she'll send us the presentation. We'll see what other bits are coming
Interesting.
down. Yeah. Right now, I think between now and the next meeting, just to wrap everything up here, with a bow on all this. So our main three areas of focus, right? We have a climate action plan. We're going to have another discussion about that next week. We'll all do our best to spend some time, digging into that a little more deeply, putting our thoughts together, sharing those with each other so that we can have, a larger discussion. Hopefully Weston and Sampson can come and flesh out, how we want to deal with those action items and the priority of them. The stretch code, if we can get to an ordinance committee meeting, that's great. It's good that Connie is leading the charge on the city council side.
It might be the beginning, the first week in April. She just has to check with the other members and see
Okay.
when they're available.
Great.
What else? If it's between meetings, our meetings, we'll let the rest of the committee.
Yes, I will. As
when
soon
it's
as she
coming up.
schedules it, I'll
Yes, we wanna
send
go
you guys an
here,
email.
here.
Yeah, definitely.
And then municipal aggregation piece, which I will work with Lindsay and Good Energy and try to get some task lists. And if I divvy those up, if I can ask for help with individual parts of those, make sure that those are all moving forward. And then we can get that public comment period going and get the public hearing date in place. Because then public hearing is at the end of that period. And then we can move forward with the official generation of the plan and RFP put out there that people can respond to and actually start trying to build the aggregation program and implement it. All right, and then we'll check in with Mass CEC before the next meeting and see if there's any updates. Meanwhile, looking at
So we're having this meeting,
electric bills,
but then Wednesday, 8th, then we also. have
April 22nd.
Thank you.
Monday, April 22nd is the next regularly scheduled meeting. Yeah, it's the fourth Monday.
Thank you.
Then we're going to move to the third Monday for May, I believe, because Memorial Day will be coming up. And so,
Do you happen to know that date off the top of your head? It's okay. I'll look it up.
Second.
19th.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
No, that's Sunday, 20th.
Thank you.
May 20th.
Third Monday.
Okay.
Yeah,
So yeah, still 4 weeks apart though.
that's still the third Monday.
So April 22nd, then May 20th. In the meantime, April 4th, and I will get a quick agenda together and get probably gonna have to be, I don't know if they can use this link. Again, I'll double check with the city whether we can use this link for Google Meet or whether we have to get a different one for a different day and time. Give an agenda for that.
Okay.
All right, that's it for me. Anybody have a motion they'd like to make?
I move go ahead.
So I can make the motion to close.
Motion to adjourn has been made. Do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.